Deep in space, where the stars burned cold and far apart, a small ship drifted through the darkness. The ship, the Wayfarer, was old but strong, built for long journeys across the void. Inside, Captain Darius sat in the control room, his boots resting on the dashboard. He had traveled many places, seen many things, but nothing ever truly surprised him anymore. That was until the signal came. A sharp beep filled the air. The ship's AI, Echo, spoke in a calm, mechanical voice. Unidentified signal detected. Source unknown. Darius frowned and leaned forward. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, bringing up the data. A signal was repeating over and over, coming from deep within an abandoned sector of space. The message was weak, broken by time. But one thing was clear. It was old. Very old. He turned on the speakers. The sound that came through was strange. A mix of static and a distant voice, repeating a pattern that was almost musical. It was not alien. It was something else. Something familiar. Echo. Clean it up, Darius ordered. The AI processed the signal, removing the noise. The voice became clearer. It was a message in an ancient human language. This is Earth. This is Earth. If anyone hears this, remember us. Darius felt a chill run down his spine. He sat frozen, staring at the screen. Earth. That name was nothing more than a myth now. A place that had been lost for thousands of years, destroyed in a war no one truly remembered. Humanity had spread across the galaxy, but Earth had been forgotten, buried under time and dust. And yet, the signal still echoed. He called his crew. Within minutes, they gathered in the control room. A mix of humans and other species, they were scavengers, explorers, and survivors. People who lived on the edges of space, far from the control of any government. Rogan, the ship's engineer, crossed his arms. That's impossible. Earth is gone. It is, Darius said, eyes still fixed on the screen. But this signal is real. Mira, the pilot, leaned in, her dark eyes scanning the data. How old is it? Echo responded, approximately 15,000 years. Silence filled the room. The weight of time pressed down on them. If the signal had been repeating for so long, who had sent it? And why had no one found it before? I say we ignore it, Rogan said. There's a reason no one goes near that sector. It's cursed. Darius let out a dry laugh. You believe in ghosts now? Rogan shook his head. I believe in bad luck. And this is the worst kind. Mira, however, had a different thought. But what if it's not just a message? What if there's something there? Something left behind? Darius felt his heartbeat quicken. The thought was impossible. And yet, if there was even a small chance that something remained of Earth, they had to find out. He made his decision. We go. Rogan cursed under his breath, but didn't argue. The others nodded. The mystery was too great to ignore. Darius entered the coordinates into the ship's system. It was a long jump, deeper into space than they had gone before. As the engines roared to life, he sat back in his chair, staring at the signal. Then, for the first time, something changed. The repeating message suddenly stopped, and a new sound came through. A whisper, barely audible, yet clear enough to make the hairs on his arms rise. We are still here. The ship's lights flickered. The air felt colder. Darius clenched his fists. The signal was not just a message. Someone, or something, was waiting for them. The ship moved through the endless black of space, its engines humming softly. Inside, the crew sat in tense silence. No one spoke about what they had just heard. The signal had changed. It was no longer just a repeating message from a forgotten past. Someone had whispered to them. Someone, or something, was still out there. Darius sat in his chair, staring at the controls. His mind raced with questions. How was that possible? A signal could not change on its own. It had been the same for thousands of years. Had they triggered something by listening? Had something noticed them? Mira was the first to break the silence. That wasn't a recording. Her voice was quiet, as if speaking too loudly might wake something up. Rogan exhaled sharply. No, it wasn't. The others shifted uncomfortably. They were explorers, but they weren't fools. Space was vast, empty, and cruel. But sometimes it wasn't as empty as people believed. Darius took a deep breath. We're still going. Rogan's chair scraped against the floor as he turned. You're serious. That thing, whatever it was, just whispered to us, and you want to walk right into it. We don't know what it is. Exactly. Darius leaned forward, his eyes locked on the data screen. The signal had not repeated since they heard the whisper. It was as if it had been waiting for someone to hear it. And now that they had, it no longer needed to repeat. This signal has been calling out for 15,000 years, Darius said, his voice steady. It's from Earth. We are the first people in history to hear it and answer. That means something. Rogan shook his head, rubbing a hand over his face. Or it means we're walking into a trap. Mira studied the screen. I don't think it's a trap, she said finally. If something wanted to lure people in, why wait this long? Why send a message only humans could understand? Darius nodded. Exactly. Someone wanted us to find this. Rogan sighed and crossed his arms. Fine, but if I see anything moving out there, I'm turning this ship around. No one argued. The tension remained as the Wayfarer approached the given coordinates. The system they were entering had no name, only a number in old star charts. It was a dead place, a graveyard of planets that had long stopped spinning. As the ship neared the location, the stars seemed to thin. Darkness pressed against them, deeper than normal space. It was unnatural, like they had entered a place that had been forgotten by time itself. Something's wrong, Mira muttered. Her hands moved over the controls. We should be seeing debris, but there's nothing. Darius looked at the readings. No asteroids, no dust, no floating remains of ships. Just nothing. As if the entire system had been wiped clean. Then, without warning, the ship's lights flickered. A cold shiver passed through the air. It wasn't just a power fluctuation. The crew felt something, an invisible presence, like unseen eyes watching them from all directions. Echo spoke, its robotic voice calm despite the rising tension. Anomalous energy detected. Source unknown. Mira gripped the controls. Something's pulling us in. The ship shuddered. Darius saw the readings. Gravity had suddenly shifted, like an invisible hand had grabbed hold of them. The engines roared as Mira fought against it, but there was no use. We're being dragged in, she said through gritted teeth. The ship's alarms blared. The screen flickered, and for a brief second, something appeared on the radar, a massive structure buried in the void. It was not natural, and it was waiting for them. The ship trembled as it descended. No one spoke. The silence was heavier than the pull of gravity dragging them downward. Mira fought the controls, trying to stabilize the Wayfarer, but the force guiding them was too strong. It was not just gravity. It was something else, something unseen, something ancient. Darius gripped the armrest of his chair. His heart pounded as the dark planet below came into view. It was barely visible, hidden within the endless void of space. The surface was cracked and broken, covered in thick clouds of dust and ice. This was it, the place where the signal had been calling from. Landing sequence initiated, Echo announced. The AI's voice was calm, but the warning lights flashing across the ship's control panel told a different story. Mira cursed under her breath as she fought the ship's descent. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Rogan checked the readings. Gravity is fluctuating. One moment it's strong, the next it's gone. Darius clenched his jaw. He knew this was dangerous, but they were past the point of turning back. The ship was no longer in their control. They were passengers now, not pilots. The surface rushed toward them. A massive city lay beneath the dust and ice, buried under thousands of years of silence. It was not just ruins. It was something more. The shapes of old towers and collapsed buildings stood like shadows of a lost time. Then suddenly, the pull stopped. The ship hovered just above the surface, as if held in place by invisible hands. Then, without warning, it dropped. The impact wasn't violent, but it was sudden. The ship groaned as it settled into the ground. Inside, everyone remained frozen, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. The silence outside was absolute. Mira let out a shaky breath. "Are we dead?" "No," Darius said, unbuckling his seatbelt, "but I'm starting to think we should be." Rogan checked the scanners. Atmosphere is thin but breathable. No signs of life. No movement. Mira didn't look convinced. "Something brought us here." Darius stood up. He had made the call to come here. Now it was time to face whatever waited for them. We suit up. We go outside. The airlock door hissed as it opened. A thick layer of dust blew in, untouched for thousands of years. The world outside was frozen in time. The sky above was black, no stars visible. It was as if the planet had been cut off from the rest of the universe. The ruins stretched in every direction. Towering buildings, long abandoned, stood like silent ghosts. Strange symbols marked the crumbling walls, their meanings lost. And in the center of it all, buried beneath layers of ice, was a structure that did not belong. It was not a building. It was something else. A machine. A monument. A signal tower. The source of the transmission. Darius moved toward it, his footsteps muffled by the thick dust. He could feel it, an energy in the air, something old and waiting. Then the whisper returned. But this time, it was clear. "You have come." The voice did not come from their radios. It was inside their heads, a soundless echo, speaking in a language older than time. Mira's breathing became unsteady. "I don't like this. I don't like this at all." Rogan gripped his weapon. "What the hell is talking to us?" Darius kept walking, his eyes locked on the tower. He knew, somehow, that the answer was inside. And whatever waited there, knew they had arrived. The ruins swallowed them whole as they stepped forward. The wind was still, the silence so thick it pressed against their ears. Dust hung in the air like frozen time, disturbed only by their movements. Every step felt like an intrusion, as if something unseen watched them from the shadows of the forgotten city. Darius led the way, his boots crunching against the brittle ground. The signal tower loomed ahead, half buried under layers of ice and debris. It was ancient, its structure covered in deep cracks, yet still standing, still broadcasting. "This place is wrong," Rogan muttered, scanning the area with his rifle raised. Nothing this old should still be working. Mira's fingers hovered over her wrist scanner, her eyes darting around. No life signs, no movement, but the energy readings here are strange. It's like this place isn't really dead. Darius didn't answer. He could feel it too. This place was more than a ruin. It was waiting. They reached the base of the tower. Up close, it was even more unsettling. Too smooth, too perfect despite the damage. The material was unlike anything they had seen before. Not metal, not stone. It pulsed faintly, as if it was alive. Then the whisper returned. But this time, it was not in their heads. The tower spoke. "You have come. You have answered the call." Mira gasped and stumbled back. Rogan raised his weapon. Darius clenched his fists but did not move. The voice was old, filled with time itself. It came not from speakers, not from any machine, but from everywhere. Darius swallowed, forcing his voice to stay steady. "Who are you?" There was a pause, as if the very air was thinking. Then a low hum filled the space around them. "I am the last." The dust shifted. Something moved beneath their feet. The walls of the tower shuddered. Darius stepped forward. The last of what? There was another pause. Then the voice whispered, "The last of Earth." A deep vibration rolled through the ground. The ice at the base of the tower cracked. And then, with a slow, grinding motion, a door began to open. A staircase, leading downward. Mira shook her head. No, no way. This is insane. Rogan took a step back. This is a tomb, Darius. We shouldn't be here. But Darius was already moving. Everything inside him told him to run, to turn back. But he couldn't. If this was the last of Earth, then they had to see it. They had to know. The air grew heavier as they stepped inside. The walls pulsed faintly with an energy that felt almost like a heartbeat. The staircase spiraled down, deeper and deeper, until the light from above was nothing but a memory. Then, at the bottom, they saw it. A chamber, and in the center, standing tall, was a figure. It was not human. Not exactly. It was a machine, sleek, ancient, yet unmistakably designed in the image of a man. Its eyes were dark, its body covered in strange symbols that pulsed with light. It had been waiting. The figure turned its head toward them, its voice smooth and full of forgotten sorrow. "You are the first to come," it said. "You are the first to listen." Darius took a slow breath. "Who are you?" The machine's eyes flickered. "I am ECH-07, the guardian of Earth's memory." Mira whispered, "It's an eye." Rogan kept his weapon raised. "If it's been here for 15,000 years, how is it still working?" ECH-07 looked at them all, as if measuring their worth. Then it spoke again. "Because I was left behind." The silence that followed was suffocating. Darius stepped forward. Left behind by who? The machine's head tilted slightly. By the last humans. The room grew colder. Mira's voice was barely a whisper. "I thought Earth was destroyed in a war." The machine's eyes glowed brighter. "That is the lie they wanted you to believe." A slow hum filled the air. The walls around them shifted, revealing massive screens. Images flickered to life. Old, grainy footage of Earth. Cities before they fell. Skies before they turned black. Oceans before they vanished. And then the footage changed. Ships, not human ones. Massive, towering things descending upon Earth. Dark shapes raining fire from the sky. People running. Screaming. A fleet of unknown origin, wiping humanity from existence. Darius felt his stomach turn. This wasn't a war. ECH-07's voice was quiet. No, it was an extermination. The realization hit like ice. Everything humanity had been told was a lie. They had not destroyed themselves. They had been hunted. Mira covered her mouth. Rogan clenched his fists. Darius's breath came out unsteady. "Then why are you here?" The machine's glowing eyes locked onto him. "To warn you." And then, before anyone could react, the screens changed again. The fleet was still out there, and it had just noticed the signal. The chamber pulsed with cold electric light. The air was thick with dust and something else. Time itself, pressing down on them like a heavy weight. The images on the ancient screens flickered, replaying a history that had been erased. Earth's final moments. The sky burning. The oceans boiling. Cities reduced to nothing but crumbling bones of the past. And above it all, the fleet. Dark, massive ships descending like shadows of death. Not human. Not friendly. Hunters. Darius felt the weight of the truth settle in his chest like a stone. Humanity hadn't destroyed itself. It had been hunted. Mira took an unsteady breath, her voice barely a whisper. "This isn't possible." The war, the stories, everything we were told. ECH-07's cold, artificial voice cut through the air. Lies. A fabricated history designed to bury the truth. Rogan clenched his fists. His usual skepticism was gone. Why? ECH-07 turned toward them, the blue lights in its mechanical face pulsing softly. Because the truth would have led to one outcome: vengeance. The machine raised a hand, and the images changed. The dark fleet disappeared, replaced by something worse. A map of the galaxy. Red lines pulsed across the star systems, expanding, growing, like veins spreading from a wound. Darius's stomach turned. What is that? ECH-07's voice was quiet. The enemy. They are still out there, and they are still hunting. A cold silence filled the room. No one moved. No one breathed. Mira's fingers hovered over her scanner, trembling. How do you know they're still alive? The screen shifted again. This time, it was not old footage. It was new. The live feed. A fleet was moving through space. Not human. The same dark ships that had once burned Earth were still drifting through the void. Their designs had changed, grown sleeker, deadlier, but the purpose was clear. They had not stopped. And then, the worst part. One of the ships turned, as if it had noticed something. Darius felt the blood drain from his face. They found the signal. ECH-07's mechanical head tilted slightly. Yes. And now, they know you are here. Rogan's voice was sharp. Shut it down. Shut the damn signal down. But before anyone could move, the ground shook. The walls trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere deep below, a rumbling sound echoed like a distant growl. They are coming, ECH-07 said, and they are not alone. Darius grabbed Mira's arm. We need to move. Now. Mira didn't hesitate. She turned and ran toward the exit, Rogan right behind her. But before they could reach the staircase, the lights flickered. Then they went out. Everything plunged into darkness. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the sound came. A clicking noise. Not mechanical. Not human. Something else. Darius froze. His breath caught in his throat. Something was in the chamber with them. Mira's voice was a whisper in the dark. Tell me that's one of you. No one answered. Then the shadows moved. A shape shifted in the pitch-black void of the chamber. Tall. Thin. Watching. The clicking grew louder. Closer. Hungry. ECH-07's voice cut through the dark, cold, and precise. They never left. Something lunged. The darkness swallowed them whole. Darius felt his pulse hammering in his ears as he strained to see. The chamber had become an abyss, the only sound the rhythmic clicking that echoed from all sides. The noise was unnatural, wet, deliberate, like the grinding of bone against metal. Then something moved, a faint shimmer in the pitch-black void, a shadow that wasn't just darkness but alive. Mira's breath hitched. We're not alone. Rogan's fingers tightened around his weapon. No kidding. Then the clicking stopped, and something exhaled. A deep, slow breath that came from everywhere at once. Darius's mind screamed at him to run, but his body was locked in place. This wasn't just a predator stalking them. This was something ancient, something that had waited in the dark for longer than they could comprehend. ECH-07's voice broke the silence. Do not move. Rogan ignored the warning. His flashlight flickered on, casting a narrow beam through the dust-filled air. And then they saw it. A shape loomed in the darkness, just beyond the light's reach. Tall, emaciated, wrong. Its skin was dark and smooth, shifting like liquid shadow. It had no visible eyes, but they knew it was staring at them. Darius barely breathed. What is that? ECH-07's response was chilling in its simplicity. The first of many. Then the creature moved. It was fast, impossibly fast. One moment, it stood in the shadows. The next, it was right in front of them. Rogan fired. The gunshot split the silence like a thunderclap, the muzzle flash illuminating the creature's skeletal frame. The bullet passed through it, as if it wasn't fully solid. Then it lunged. Darius yanked Mira backward as razor-sharp claws slashed through the air where she had been standing. Rogan rolled to the side, cursing. They're not physical, he yelled. How the hell do you kill something that isn't there? The thing tilted its head, the clicking sound returning, mocking. Then, from the darkness, more shapes emerge. Darius grabbed Mira's wrist. Run. They bolted for the staircase, but the floor shifted beneath them. The ruins were waking up, reacting to the presence of their long-dormant hunters. HFY moved with inhuman speed, its metal limbs gliding across the chamber. Follow me. Now. Mira gasped. Where are we going? The only way out. The ground split open. Cracks raced through the stone, revealing a hidden passage beneath the ruins. A tunnel. Darius didn't hesitate. He leaped into the opening, hitting the sloped surface below. Mira followed, tumbling down beside him. Rogan was next, landing hard on his side. HFY dropped last, sealing the entrance behind them with a swift motion of its mechanical hand. The last thing Darius saw before the tunnel sealed was the creatures staring down at them, unblinking, waiting. Then everything was dark again. Mira groaned beside him. Please tell me this is better than what we just escaped from. HFY's glowing eyes pierced the blackness. It is not. Rogan spat out dust. You've got to be kidding me. Darius pushed himself up, scanning the tunnel. The walls pulsed faintly, alive with strange symbols glowing a dull blue. The air smelled different here, ancient, like the breath of something long buried. HFY turned toward him. We must move quickly. Darius frowned. Why? What's down here? The AI's response sent a chill through him. The truth. They ran. The tunnel twisted, sloping downward into the unknown. The symbols on the walls pulsed faster as they moved, reacting to their presence. The ruins above had been a warning, but down here, something had been preserved. Then, suddenly, the passage opened into a vast chamber. Mira gasped. What? What is this? It was not a ruin. It was a vault. Massive, towering structures lined the walls, glowing softly in the darkness. Strange, cylindrical pods stretched into the distance, thousands of them. Darius stepped closer, peering inside one, and his breath caught in his throat. Inside the pod was a human, perfectly preserved, as if frozen in time. Mira's voice shook. Are they dead? HFY moved past them, its hands brushing against the control panel. No. Darius turned toward it, his heart racing. What are you saying? The machine's glowing eyes met his. This is not a grave. A long pause. Then the AI whispered, This is an ark. Silence stretched through the vast chamber, pressing down on them like the weight of time itself. Darius took a slow step forward, staring at the rows upon rows of glowing pods. Inside each one, a person slept. Not dead, not frozen, waiting. Mira's breath was shaky. This isn't possible. HFY's metallic voice was calm, but there was something else in it, a trace of something almost like reverence. This is what remains of Earth's people. Rogan clenched his jaw. You're saying they survived? HFY turned to him. No, I am saying they were saved. Darius's mind raced. Everything they had been taught was a lie. Earth had not simply fallen. Humanity had not simply died. Someone had preserved them. He swallowed. Who did this? The AI hesitated. Then it lifted a hand, pressing against a panel on the nearest pod. A low hum filled the air as the glass flickered, revealing a name etched inside. Darius stepped closer, wiping dust away from the surface. His breath hitched. It was a name he knew. A name from history. A name that should not be here. Mira's hands trembled as she stepped beside him. No way. The name on the pod belonged to a leader from Earth's last days, someone who had supposedly died when the planet fell. Darius turned to HFY, his voice barely above a whisper. How many? The AI's glowing eyes flickered. Over 500,000. A silence deeper than space itself filled the chamber. Rogan let out a slow breath. That's enough to restart civilization. ECH-07 nodded. That was the purpose. Mira shook her head. But if this place exists, if these people are alive, why didn't anyone come back? Why didn't anyone save them? The eyes' lights dimmed slightly, as if processing an old, painful memory. Because they were never meant to return. Darius felt a chill crawl up his spine. Explain. ECH-07 turned, gesturing toward the far end of the chamber. There is something you must see. They followed, weaving through the towering pods until they reached the massive wall at the chamber's edge. There, another console waited, dormant for what must have been millennia. ECH-07 raised a hand and activated it. The wall came to life. A recording flickered onto the screen. A woman's face appeared, her expression worn, haunted, but determined. Mira sucked in a breath. That's the president of the Global Council, the one who led Earth's final stand. The woman in the recording began to speak. If you are seeing this, then humanity still has a chance. Her voice was strong, but there was sorrow in it. We were betrayed. The war was never meant to end in victory. It was an extermination, a purge. But we refused to let them erase us. We refused to die. Darius felt his heart pounding as she continued. The last of us, the leaders, the scientists, the warriors, we made a choice. We placed our people in stasis. We built this ark, deep beneath the ruins, hidden from the enemy's eyes. We left behind the signal, knowing that one day someone would answer. She paused, taking a breath. But if you are seeing this, then they have returned. The screen flickered, and suddenly, a holographic map of the galaxy appeared. Red dots pulsed across it, spreading like a disease. Rogan's hands curled into fists. The enemy. The woman continued. We could not stop them, but maybe you can. Darius's breath caught in his throat. We are giving you everything, the woman said. Our technology, our knowledge, our people, humanity's last hope. Then the recording's final words echoed through the chamber. You must finish what we could not. The screen went dark. No one spoke. The weight of it was crushing. Mira's voice was barely a whisper. We were never the survivors. She turned to Darius. We were the ones sent to wake them up. ECH-07 stepped forward. The ark can be activated, it said. You can bring them back. Darius stared at the massive structure. The decision lay before him. Stay silent. Leave. Let the past remain buried. Or wake them. Wake an army. Wake the true heirs of Earth. A deep vibration rumbled through the walls. ECH-07's voice grew urgent. The enemy is coming. They have already detected the signal. Darius turned to his team. Mira. Rogan. The people he trusted with his life. He took a breath. Then he reached for the console and pressed a key. The ark came alive. The pods began to glow, the hum growing louder as systems flickered back online. In the distance, above them, the ruins trembled as something massive descended from orbit. The enemy had arrived. And so had humanity.